Come hither, renowned Odysseus, great glory of the Achaeans. Stay thy ship, that thou mayst listen to the voice of us two. For never yet has any man rowed past this isle in his black ship, till he has heard the sweet voice from our lips. Nay, he has joy of it, and he goes his way a wiser man. For we know all the toils that in wide Troy the Argives and the Trojans endured, through the will of the gods, and we know all things that come to pass upon this fruitful earth. After decades spent away from home, suffering the violence of war and the heat of the Mediterranean sun, the brave Odysseus finds himself yet still adrift at sea. Warned by the witch Circe of the perils of the island of the Sirens, he had each man of his crew block their own ears with wax. Odysseus, however, retained his ability to hear. He heard their song and saw beautiful women begging him to visit their paradise, promising him love, wisdom, and peace. It was a song so sweet, an enchantment so strong, he pulled at the ropes that bound him to his own boat, yearning to reach the beautiful creatures that he saw so closely. His crew, however, saw them for what they were, terrifying creatures who would lure sailors to their doom. Sirens first appear in the Odyssey, but recur in stories like Argonautica, also known as Jason and the Argonauts, and other myths originating around Greece. Sirens are not actually physically described in the Odyssey. We only know from Homer, or whatever nameless poet wrote that chapter of the Odyssey, that once someone heard their song, they couldn't help but find them irresistible. Later myths, though, like Argonautica, do describe them. Mythical sirens were described as speckled birds, not unlike pheasants or finches, with the heads of women. It was around the 8th century CE that sirens were first described as mermaids, though, having fish tails instead of wings. Although the depictions of sirens change depending on the place and century, their symbolism is staunch. They represent a taunting, almost ironically blind temptation. The late historian and professor Pietro Pucci discussed Homer's sirens in his 1998 collection of essays titled The Song of the Sirens. Pietro looked at how the sirens taunted our Greek hero. They refer to him as the great glory of the Achaeans, reminding him of the glory of wars gone by. They have knowledge of the past, and they use it to pull Odysseus back to being a warrior in Troy, and not so much the vagabond on the Mediterranean we know in the Odyssey. Pucci reads into this and characterizes these creatures a little. The sirens we know have a comprehensive grasp on the past, but they completely miss the fact that the sailors they sing to have plugged their ears. In a way, this represents how we lose ourselves in short-sighted temptation. I think this reflects on the lack of humanity that sirens, both in mythology and contemporary media, show. They aren't human. They're mimics, animalistic hazards more akin to anglerfish than a stranded maiden. Like a desperate salesman, they say exactly what you want to hear before closing the lid on you. But enough about the metaphorical. What if sirens were real? Kimberly Miller gives us the rundown in her Medium article titled The Alluring Song of the Sirens, Myths, Symbols, and Modern-Day Echoes. Sirens were, apparently, the product of a love affair between Achilles and Melpomene, the god of rivers and a muse, respectively. Our lovely creatures made home on a cluster of small rocky islands south of the Italian island of Capri, appropriately known as Sirenum Scapuli. In proper Greek myth tradition, the sirens' hubris resulted in tragedy when they challenged the muses to a singing competition, the aftermath of which found the sirens cursed to be half avians, stranded on a rocky shore with their pile of rotting trophies growing ever larger beneath them. The squalid conditions of the sirens is made clear in the original story. Odysseus's crew saw piles of gore and bones beneath the sirens, but those enraptured in their song saw no grotesque warning. And so ends our brief primer on the tragic tale of the sirens, ubiquitous in modern media as icons of temptation and an ever-present reminder not to be wooed by false promises. I think it's telling that no matter how far back we go in recorded history, these base foundations of the human experience remain the same. It doesn't matter whether it's the alluring screen of our phones at 3 a.m. when we know we should have been asleep hours ago, or a coven of beautiful singing avians beckoning our ship towards razor sharp rocks. In life, sometimes we just need to plug our ears and focus on the open water in front of us. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you want to show your support, please consider leaving a comment suggesting what topics should get covered next, and subscribe if you want to see more.